Can a narcissist destroy an empath? You've probably heard the saying, hurt people hurt people. It's a common explanation for why narcissists behave the way they do, that their pain turns into manipulation, their fear becomes control, and their wounds get passed on to others. But what happens when someone truly good crosses paths with a narcissist? What if that person is deeply empathetic, someone who gives love, understanding, and compassion without expecting anything in return? And more importantly, can a narcissist destroy them? Today, we're going to explore this question. Can a narcissist destroy an empath? We'll walk through the psychological patterns observed by experts, not to stir fear, but to offer clarity. Because while empaths are often targeted, misunderstood, or emotionally drained by narcissists, they are also the only ones capable of walking away and healing. So if you've ever wondered whether a narcissist has the power to truly break an empath, this video will help you understand exactly what happens and why the answer may surprise you. Let's begin by understanding the two key players in this emotional dynamic. On one side, we have the narcissist, someone who builds their sense of self-worth around external validation, control, and emotional dominance. Their identity depends on how others see them. Without admiration, without attention, without power over others, they feel empty. On the other side, we have the empath, someone who feels deeply, loves fully, and often gives more than they should. Empaths are highly intuitive, emotionally intelligent, and naturally drawn to those in pain, including narcissists. That's why empaths often end up in relationships with narcissists. They believe they can help. They believe they can heal. They believe love is enough. But eventually, they learn the truth. That the narcissist doesn't want healing. They want control. And they'll use every tool at their disposal to keep it. So yes, narcissists can hurt empaths. They can drain them, confuse them, manipulate them. But can they truly destroy them? Let's take a closer look. 1. The narcissist can drain the empath's energy but not their core strength. Empaths give energy freely, sometimes too freely. They listen, they absorb, they support. They try to understand, even when understanding hurts. And that makes them vulnerable to narcissistic abuse. Narcissists recognize this and often exploit it, pulling the empath into cycles of gaslighting, silent treatments, and emotional confusion. At first, the empath tries to fix things. They chase closure. They seek explanations. They believe they can change the narcissist behavior. But here's the thing. The empath's strength lies beneath all that surface emotion. Even as they're being manipulated, something inside them remains untouched: their inner wisdom, their resilience, and their ability to awaken. And once that awakening happens, the empath begins to reclaim themselves, not through anger, not through revenge, but through awareness. And that awareness is the beginning of their survival. 2. The narcissist can confuse the empath, but cannot erase their intuition. One of the most painful parts of being in a relationship with a narcissist is the confusion, gaslighting, twisted truths, emotional chaos. It can make even the strongest empath question themselves, their memories, their feelings, their worth. And that's exactly what the narcissist wants. Because confusion keeps the empath emotionally invested. Confusion keeps the empath giving energy. Confusion keeps the empath stuck in the cycle. But here's the secret: the narcissist never sees coming. Empaths are built to recover from confusion. Their intuition is always there, buried under layers of doubt, but never gone. Eventually, the empath begins to notice the patterns. They start recognizing the manipulation. They begin to trust themselves again. And once that shift occurs, the narcissist loses their grip. Because they can't confuse someone who no longer doubts themselves. 3. The narcissist can isolate the empath, but cannot erase their inner peace. Narcissists isolate people, especially empaths. They create distance between the empath and their friends. They twist reality until the empath feels alone. They make the empath question whether anyone else understands their world. And for a time, the empath may feel broken. They may feel lost. They may even believe they deserve the pain. But here's what the narcissist doesn't understand. Empaths don't need external validation to heal. They find peace within. And once they start rebuilding that internal sanctuary, that quiet space where they know who they are, despite the chaos, the narcissist's influence begins to fade. Isolation may silence the empath temporarily, but it doesn't destroy them. In fact, isolation often becomes the catalyst for true healing. 'Cause in silence, the empath finds clarity. And in clarity, they find freedom. 4. The narcissist can make the empath doubt themselves but cannot take away their power. Doubt is one of the tools narcissists use to maintain control. They plant seeds of uncertainty. They twist words. They rewrite conversations until the empath starts questioning their own mind. Am I exaggerating? Did I misunderstand everything? Was I really that weak? These thoughts haunt the empath, but they don't define them. Because empaths are not defined by what others say about them. They are defined by their ability to rise slowly, quietly, powerfully from the weight of manipulation. And once they do, the narcissist suddenly realizes something terrifying. They couldn't break the empath. They tried every game, every trick, every form of emotional warfare. And still the empath stands. Not unscathed, but stronger. And that makes them unforgettable. 5. The narcissist can lose control, and that makes them desperate. Control is the narcissist's greatest weapon. And when they realize the empath isn't falling for their games anymore, when they see the empath walking away calmly, confidently, and permanently, they panic. Because now, they're faced with something they can't manage. A person who saw through them. A person who stopped reacting the way they wanted. A person who chose peace over drama. And that choice, that final act of self-love, strips the narcissist of their power. They try to pull the empath back in. They send cryptic messages. They reappear unexpectedly. But the empath doesn't fall for it. Because they've already seen the mask slip. They've already felt the emptiness behind the charm. And now, they know better. Which means the narcissist's desperation grows. 'Cause the empath didn't just leave. They left knowing. And knowledge is the ultimate threat. 6. The narcissist can't handle resistance, and the empath becomes unpredictable. To a narcissist, resistance is rare. Most people comply. Most people tolerate. Most people accept the version of reality the narcissist creates. But the empath? They challenge. They stand up. They set boundaries. They walk away. And that kind of defiance disrupts everything the narcissist believes about themselves. Because now the empath has become unpredictable, unreachable, untouchable, free, and that terrifies the narcissist. Because if one person escaped them, then others might too. 7. The narcissist can't destroy the empath's truth, and that haunts them. Empaths carry something dangerous to a narcissist. Truth. They remember the moments of manipulation. They hold on to the memories of betrayal. They carry the pain not as weakness, but as wisdom. And once they awaken, they don't forget. They transform. They turn suffering into growth. They turn confusion into clarity. They turn pain into purpose. And that transformation leaves the narcissist with a wound they can't heal. Because the empath was the one who saw through them and walked away. And now, they're healing. Without them. 8. The narcissist can't replace the empath, and that leaves a void. Narcissists move on quickly, or so it seems. They discard, replace, and repeat the same destructive behaviors with new people. But here's what they rarely admit. No one replaces the empath. Because the empath gave something different, not just attention or admiration, but depth, understanding, a mirror to the narcissist's hidden flaws. And once that mirror is gone, the narcissist is left alone with their reflection. And that's a place they hate being. Because without the empath's presence, they begin to feel unstable. Their ego wavers. Their control slips. Their confidence fades. And they wonder silently if they lost something they can't regain. 9. The empath doesn't need closure, and that destroys the narcissist narratives. Most people seek closure after a toxic relationship. They ask questions. They want answers. They search for meaning. But the empath? Once awakened, they stop chasing. They focus on healing, on rebuilding, on reclaiming their life. And that lack of pursuit sends a message louder than words. I don't need you. That's not just rejection. That's a direct challenge to the narcissist's belief that they were special, irreplaceable, or indispensable. and that belief is the foundation of their entire identity. So when the empath walks away and stays gone, the narcissist experiences something rare: defeat. Not dramatic, not loud, but real. And that defeat echoes in their mind like a ghost they can't exorcise. 10. The empath refuses to be a victim, and that changes everything. Empaths may enter relationships believing in the possibility of healing, but they don't stay victims, because their strength isn't in confrontation, it's in detachment. Their power isn't in revenge, it's in peace. And their resistance isn't in fighting back, it's in walking away. Once they choose themselves fully, unapologetically, they change the entire dynamic. They stop feeding the narcissist's ego. They stop absorbing the chaos. They stop playing the game. And that silence? That's the sound of the empath reclaiming their life. And that's something no narcissist can easily ignore. Because the empath didn't just leave. They chose to leave. And that choice proves something the narcissist can never truly erase. The empath saw through them. The empath broke free. And the empath healed. Without them. 11. The empath's healing becomes the narcissist's quiet torment. Perhaps the most painful realization for a narcissist is knowing that the empath is moving forward and thriving without them. While the narcissist continues circling the same patterns, repeating the same destructive behaviors, the empath is becoming stronger, wiser, and more grounded. This contrast is unbearable for the narcissist, because it proves that the empath didn't need them to be happy, that the empath was better off without them, that the empath found peace without them. And that's a blow no amount of grandiosity can cushion. Because deep down, the narcissist knows the truth. The empath loved them more deeply than anyone else ever did, and still walked away. 12. The empath becomes a reminder of what the narcissist can never fully escape. Narcissists rewrite history constantly. They tell themselves stories that paint them as victims, heroes, or misunderstood geniuses, whatever serves their ego best. But no matter how much they twist the truth, the empath was part of their story. Moments when the empath stood up to them. Times when the empath exposed their flaws. Instances when the empath chose themselves over the narcissist. These memories disrupt their fantasy. They don't align with the version of reality they've created. And because of that, they can't fully erase the empath from their minds. They might tell themselves the empath was nothing, that they were replaceable, that they never cared. But deep down, they know better. And that's why they can't forget you. 13. The empath carries the truth, and that lingers like a shadow. Empaths remember the truth. They remember the manipulation. They remember the gaslighting. They remember the moments the narcissist tried to break them and failed. And unlike most people, they don't forget. They carry that knowledge not as a wound but as wisdom. And that truth becomes their armor. Because the narcissist knows this, the empath saw through them. The empath left on their own terms. The empath never looked back. And that means the empath holds the real story, the version of events that the narcissist can't erase. And that knowledge lingers in the narcissist's mind like a ghost they can't exorcise. 14. The empath's silence becomes their weapon. The most terrifying form of resistance for a narcissist isn't anger. It isn't confrontation. It isn't even revenge. It's silence. Because silence removes their power. Silence stops their provocation. Silence denies them the chaos they feed on. And once the empath chooses peace, really chooses it, they take back control. They stop engaging. They stop explaining. They stop looking back. And that final act, choosing peace, is what dismantles the narcissist world from within. Because the second the empath stops giving them your energy, your attention, your time, your emotional space, you strip them of their oxygen. And that's the sound of them beginning to suffocate. 15. The empath leaves behind memories that can't be rewritten. Narcissists rewrite history constantly. They tell themselves stories that paint them as victims, heroes, or misunderstood geniuses, whatever serves their ego best. But the empath was part of their story. You witnessed moments they can't erase. You were there when their masks slipped. You challenged them, and they couldn't control you forever. And no matter how many times they try to twist the truth, those memories remain. Moments when you stood up to them. Times when you exposed their flaws. instances when you chose yourself over them. These memories disrupt their carefully constructed narratives. They don't align with the version of reality they've created, and because of that, they can't fully erase you from their minds. They might tell themselves you were nothing, that you were replaceable, that they never cared, but deep down, they know better. And that's why they can't forget you. 16. The empath breaks the cycle, and that makes the narcissist fear the pattern is broken. Narcissists thrive on predictable cycles. People who stay confused. People who beg for closure. People who keep giving energy even after being discarded. But the empath? They don't follow the pattern. They disappear. They detach. They walk away and never look back. And that breaks the rhythm the narcissist has relied on for years. Because if one person escaped them, if one person resisted, then others might too. And that idea terrifies them. Because it means their power isn't absolute. It means their mask can crack. And worst of all, it means their destruction isn't guaranteed. It means someone saw through them and still got away. 17. The empath sees through the mask, and that makes them irreplaceable. Empaths are not naive. They are not weak. They are not easy targets. They are simply wired to feel deeply, and that depth allows them to see beyond illusions. They saw the cracks in the narcissist's image. They recognized the fear behind the bravado. They understood the hunger for validation masked as love. And once they see that truth and walk away, they become the most dangerous kind of person to the narcissist, someone who knew the real them and still left. That's not just rejection. That's exposure. And that's something the narcissist can never truly erase. 18. The empath becomes a mirror. The narcissist can't avoid. Empaths reflect emotions, not just joy, but pain. And in doing so, they become mirrors. The narcissist looks at them and sees something they can't stand. Themselves. Not the version they tell others. Not the image they project. But the fragile, insecure, manipulative person hiding behind the mask. And once that mirror disappears, once the empath walks away, the narcissist is left alone with their reflection. And that's a place they hate being. Because they don't know how to exist without someone reflecting their greatness back at them. And now, the mirror is gone. And the truth is staring back. 18. The empath leaves behind a legacy of clarity, and that changes others too. Empaths don't just survive narcissists. They share their story not for revenge, not for drama, but for awareness. They warn others. They protect future victims. They expose the patterns before they repeat. And that ripple effect is what truly destroys the narcissist's illusion. Because if one person saw through them and walked away, then others might too. And if enough people see the cracks, then the mask finally falls. And that's the real reason narcissists fear empaths. Not because they fight back, but because they walk away and tell the truth, and that truth spreads. 20. The empath chooses themselves, and that's something no narcissist can undo. The most powerful moment for an empath is not when they confront the narcissist. It's when they choose themselves. When they stop giving energy. When they stop trying to fix things. When they stop waiting for apologies that won't come. That's the moment the empath changes everything. Because they no longer allow the narcissist to define their worth. They no longer let the narcissist shape their reality. They no longer live in the shadow of someone who never truly saw them. And that choice to walk away and stay away is what makes the empath unstoppable. Because once you choose yourself fully, completely, and unapologetically, you become immune to their games. And that's something no narcissist can ever truly destroy. So here's the truth. Narcissists may manipulate, confuse, and emotionally drain an empath, but they cannot destroy them. Because empaths don't build their strength on ego. They build it on awareness. They build it on boundary setting. They build it on emotional independence. And once they awaken, once they stop giving energy, they reclaim their power. And that power is what changes everything. Because the moment the empath stops giving them your energy, your attention, your time, your emotional space, you dismantle the narcissist world from within. You strip them of their fuel. You remove their stage. You erase their audience. And without you, they begin to unravel. Quietly. Deeply. Forever. So if you're an empath reading this, remember this. Remember this: walking away isn't weakness. Detaching isn't failure. Healing isn't forgetting, it's choosing peace. And when you choose yourself fully, unapologetically, you don't just save your own life. You quietly, calmly, and permanently change the course of the narcissist life too. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, healing begins the moment you stop giving your energy to those who never deserved it. Stay strong, stay wise, and most importantly, stay free.